Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and boy, let me tell you what, this weekend, especially yesterday, it's like there's a war going on Twitter with like BitBoy and Kevin O'Leary were going at it. It was, crazy, some of the things being thrown around, and I was fully entertained. And so, and I spent some time looking through. Look, I still say ETHgate's bigger than FTX gate, but I think they're probably somehow, some way, you could probably draw a line between them when it's all said and done. And so, look, this is in our wheelhouse. We're pro crypto, and we're anti-corruption on this channel, and we're pro XRP and Ripple and everything going on there, and we're pro all other crypto. We just want a level playing field. It's all we've ever wanted. We want the corruption gone. So anything in that wheelhouse is my wheelhouse. So let's start here. Today, folks, with all the crazy stuff going on out there with hacks and everything else, you got to have your stuff on a hard wallet. The Ledger Nano, the Ledger is what I use. I have several of them. Today, their Black Friday is starting. Now, it starts at 4 p.m. I think it's called Central European time, so you'll have to figure out what that translates to. But the way it works is when you purchase a Ledger Nano X on their website, through my link, purchase a Ledger Nano X, you can get $30 worth of Bitcoin. If you purchase a Nano S Plus, then you get $20 worth of Bitcoin. So the link I'll put in the top of the description of this video, you can click on that link, tell them DAI sent you. Now, Nick Burafado from Link2 reminds us of this. Polysign is not just institutional custody. Smart contracts with atomic settlement are coming. You can't get that anywhere else. Plus, you can get Polysign on Link2. They've got a little bit left, I think, not much, but you're going to have to go check. That link will be in the top of the description too. Now, this is the Polysign CEO, Jack McDonald. Listen to what he says.
Could you help our audience understand why this instant settlement idea is so important?
Instant and atomic settlement, you can think of atomic as really a pass-fail. So either both sides prevail or both fail to transfer. Among other things, it overcomes the challenge of Ryan and Darren want to trade fiat currency for an illiquid asset. And let's just say that you don't know one another. And we have this question of who's going to go first. Are you going to put your money on the table and then Ryan is going to deliver the share, or is Ryan going to deliver the share and then Darren's going to put the money? So what our settlement layer is designed to enable is removing that obstacle of who goes first and essentially providing guaranteed settlement. So the only way that Ryan will put his fiat currency on the table, and the only way that Darren will put his asset on the table to instantly be exchanged for one another, is if all the preconditions leading up to that have been met. So I think it was Darren that has the asset. Let's say Darren has a private company share. Let's say it is held at a cap table management company, the record, the transfer agent at somebody like a Carta. Ryan doesn't really know if that 10 shares of SpaceX or Link2 is unencumbered. Does Darren really own it free and clear? Does Link2 have a ROFR on it, etc.? And it was only after all of those conditions are met that Ryan would feel comfortable sliding his money across the table. And Darren, you're only going to feel comfortable putting your shares on the table if you know that Ryan does indeed have $1 million of fiat currency at a bank account that's held in his name, that's held in escrow, so he can't, renege on the deal, sort of thing. And so it's basically memorializing those attestations that have been made on both sides, verifying them both, and then allowing for this swap to occur. So essentially, you can think of it as providing for guaranteed settlements. It's essentially an escrow-like settlement feature that removes a lot of third-party counterparties that would otherwise need to exist to enable that to happen. Third parties are time-consuming, they're expensive, and they present an opportunity for error. And so by removing that with essentially a smart contract-like blockchain-based software, we can facilitate different types of asset transfers in a much more cost-effective and time-efficient way.
Now, remember what Bob Way said. He said, once you have atomic settlement between two central banks, it's game over. So just remember that, folks. Let me get rid of a window here. Okay, now check it out. Right in the middle of all this FTX mess, crypto giant Ripple eyes deals for FTX assets, the Sunday Times in the UK. Now, folks, this is like a subscription-based thing, so there wasn't really anything in the article that I could see worth seeing. The title tells it all. But I want to expound on it for a second. I've been in this since 2013. There's a reason that I've been locked on to one company and one digital asset pretty much. I would probably add Stellar to that and XLM. And the reason's real simple. I've seen it all. I've seen scams, I've seen hacks, I've seen this, I've seen that, I've seen shenanigans, I've seen corruption, I've seen people invest in companies that went bankrupt. I've seen people call this one a scam and call that one a scam. But and you know what's been the most interesting thing in that whole exercise? The only thing, and I'm 48 years old now, folks, the only thing, or I'd say two, XRP and XLM, and then Ripple and Stellar, these are the only two companies, the only two digital assets that from day one until now have always made, they were there in the beginning, even before Ethereum, and they have, from day one, I've never been able to poke any holes in it. They've never been attached to all this. That people have pointed at Ripple from day one. Here's the irony. The same people, the same group of people who for years have, I'm shorting XRP, I just don't get it. The same people who for years have said, well, that's a scam, or, I believe in Ripple, the company, but not the digital. The same people that have been pointing at them for over 5 years in this space. Those are the same people that are getting caught up over and over and over in all of these scams that we're seeing, whether it's a Luna or an FTX. The same people that have been pointing at the only thing I can find in the industry that has always made sense and always been transparent and always been above board and never gets tied up in all this mess that's going on. Those are the people, the same people pointing at Ripple saying all this stuff for all these years are the people that over and over and over get caught up in things that look nefarious or scam or this or that. You know what it tells me? I don't think these people are stupid. I think that these people were a bunch of people that have information you and I don't have, that were trading on those things. And I think that those people were intentionally being involved in what they knew was a short-term window of making tons of money. I think there's some greedy SOBs, and they saw an opportunity. And I think that Ripple has always been the long-term smart money, period. And Stellar too, I would say that too. But it is not a coincidence that all this has gone on. It's almost like Ripple was the destiny, and it's almost like, if I didn't know better, it's almost like there was a larger plan. Almost, folks. Now that's, of course, all the world's a stage file, but let's get back to what's going on. BitBoy put this Yahoo Finance put this out, this clip of BitBoy out. I wanted to show it to you because he's 1,000% right.
Gary Gensler has completely screwed everyone in crypto. Everyone who lost any money in Celsius, Voyager, BlockFi, FTX, you lost it because of Gary Gensler. His lack of creating clarity and regulation in this space is exactly what has led us to all these offshore companies that do not operate in the United States and are not regulated. His willful, lack of, dereliction of duty is what's led everybody to this point. We want regulated exchanges, but we can't get regulation. We can't get clarity. You can't do everything by enforcement. And Gary Gensler is the most negligent person in the entire space. And I blame him more than I even blame SPF.
All right. Now I want to make a point here, folks. We have a systemic problem, but it's not crypto. The systemic problem is government corruption. Now I want to show you something. I put this little video together. I'm going to show you this. You're looking at Mark Wetjen. He was one of the chair people, or I don't remember exactly his specific title, but I think he was a chairman at the CFTC. Guess who under? Gary Gensler. He was one of his right-hand men. Now, this is the same guy. You remember about a month ago when BitBoy started ranting, and he was obviously furious. He was talking about some legislation he had put in, he was trying to get through Congress for the crypto industry. And he said he had given it to the guys at FTX, and they had basically intentionally sat on it, okay? Well, the guy that he later, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure I heard him say this or saw it in a tweet. I think he retweeted one of my tweets about Mark Wetjen. He said Mark Wetjen is the guy he handed it to, or the guy that had it, and there's the guy that stalled him. And then BitBoy later found out that these guys were trying to basically block out the rest of crypto industry. That was kind of what got him so mad. Well, this is Mark Wetjen. And when you watch this video, you'll know what the problem is. Watch this.
Again,
He's also the guy who has deleted his LinkedIn account.
The chairman for his flexibility and tireless work over the last several weeks. It was only a short while ago that I publicly expressed skepticism that the commission would be able to finalize these documents today. The commission was able to pull off this impressive feat under a relatively truncated timeline. How's that for an understatement? Only because of the chairman's leadership and consensus building.
Thank you, Commissioner Wetjen, Commissioner Amalia, and Commissioner Chilton, for all of your input.
What we have before the CFTC.
And then he goes to head the regulations at FTX. This is the same guy that was in the room meeting with Gary Gensler. I'll fast forward to that.
Structure
right here. This.
Again, I want to thank the chairman.
Let me get it right here. That's Mark Wetjen. This is them meeting on March 29th with Gary Gensler. But back to this clip of him. This is him talking about how he's meeting with the CFTC. He's the global regulations guy with FTX. And we also know that he went to the White House with Sam Bankman-Fried.
What we have before the CFTC in some ways is novel, but in other ways is not so novel. And by that I mean our proposal is sort of packaged.
Now, I dug up a video. I don't know if I'm going to play it in this one. If I don't, I'll play it in the next one, where the president of FTX US says that they were in conversations and contact with the CFTC for 10,000 hours. And they're about to have hearings in Congress. These people, the CFTC and the SEC, needs to be up there, because now what they're trying to do is paint this as crypto's downfall. It's not crypto's downfall. The people behind it are the ones that need to answer questions. Remember, Gary Gensler was right there with MF Global. Nothing ever happened to Gary Gensler or John Corzine in that, right? They didn't go to, there was nobody that went to jail. Crypto wasn't even invented when Gary Gensler presided over MF Global. Okay? But anyway, Dr. Martin Hisbach, he makes the correct comment with, it's not the downfall of crypto. They may want to try to paint it this so they can hand this off to their Wall Street buddies after they crash the market, but it's not the downfall of crypto. And then there's this. Okay, this is this guy's name is I'm drawing a blank on his name. Something Harrison, Brett Harrison maybe. But he's the CEO. Or not now, but he was, and ironically, I'm sure there's a story there, but he left before FTX went down, I think a month before it went down. And he may be one of the good guys in this. We don't know. Watch.
So as we were discussing earlier, there's definitely a lot of regulatory uncertainty in the United States, partly the infrastructure bill, but there are other potential threats on the horizon. From your perspective, what are your greatest regulatory concerns in the U.S.? What are some things to watch out for that could affect FTX's business?
So the biggest thing affecting any U.S. exchange right now is the question of what tokens one can list on the platform. As you may know, if you want to offer securities to investors, one, you have to be a registered securities exchange, and two, the securities themselves have to be registered securities. You can't offer unregistered securities to unaccredited investors. Now, the question is, of course, which ones of these actual spot tokens really represent securities and which ones don't? And moreover, who has the jurisdiction and what jurisdiction to decide what exactly is a security and what isn't? And so one thing that we're seeing, comments out of Gensler and the conversations between Gensler and Senator Warren.
conversations between Gensler and Senator Warren. What conversations are these? Does Elizabeth Warren, instead of being on the congressional side, maybe she needs to be one of the people being asked questions to?
And, the bill that's...
So does Maxine Waters. We'll get to her
in the
later.
House now is showing us that there is definitely going to be, decisions on the horizon in terms of which agency exactly has, jurisdiction over these spot tokens.
So, Brett, speaking of jurisdiction, your competitor, one of the competitors.
No, this is interesting. Remember when Brian Brooks went to Binance US and then he left real quick? Remember that?
Of FTX is of course Binance. We talked to Brian Brooks several times about the topic of servers. So it seems he left Binance in part because of their when it came to transferring those servers to the US. There might have been some objection. Now, FTX, obviously, different company, but nonetheless, there's a similarity in that the FTX.com is based overseas. You're based in the U.S. Are your servers in the U.S. as well, or are they overseas? How does that work? And are you, if they're not in the U.S., are you going to bring them into the U.S.?
Yeah, FTX US is run entirely in the US. It's run using US staff, US servers in a US Amazon cloud.
Yeah, so in other words, for some reason, Gary Gensler was looking the other way on these guys, but not on Binance. There's all kinds of questions there by itself. Then there's this, and John Deaton's right. We need a list of every meeting the SEC had with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. Maxine Waters, if you cared all about working people, you will join in demanding the release of all communications between FTX and SEC, because here it is.
We're looking forward to a lot of the regulatory clarity we're hoping for coming out of the SEC and Chairman Gensler and the CFTC and Chairman Benham.
And is FTX in conversations with the SEC or the Treasury Department about regulation going forward in the sector?
We're absolutely in conversation with the CFTC and the SEC, talking with the staff, in constant dialogue, both about, our current...
Constant dialogue.
Exchange and also our future plans. We think that is the only way for long-term exchange like ours to really exist, is for us to work cooperatively with them and collaboratively with them to figure out the next steps.
Any insight into what those conversations are like, whether or not, your positions on how the industry should move forward?
The main insight I'll give is that I think that it's a misconception that either agency wants to stifle innovation. I think they recognize this is an important technology. It's here to stay. The asset class is a multi-trillion-dollar asset class. It's here to stay. They want it to exist, but they want it to be fair and orderly, and they want it to be regulated, and we support that.
All right. And then there's, I guess I'll show this and then I'll end it here. There's just so much. I'm overwhelmed here, folks. SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried's mother, who's Barbara Fried, has resigned from her super PAC, Mind the Gap. She resigned this week. Mind the Gap is, of course, how I think Sam Bankman-Fried was getting money to the Democrat Party, is through Mind the Gap. There you go, folks. We've got a government problem. We do not have a crypto problem. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that my 10-year-old came in here this morning and warned me. He saw my trash can and he saw some of his candy wrappers in my trash can. And he said, "Dad, if you keep stealing my candy, I'm going to have to hide it."